All right, so it's spring 2022. I'm out here on the farm, and I just wanted to show you guys what I'm doing. This is my first year planting black walnuts. I harvested them for the first time in the fall last year, 2021, and I'm not editing the video right now, but I think I took a lot of footage of me harvesting the walnuts and storing them, so hopefully you watched that first if I was able to find the footage. But if not, or regardless, here I am digging them out of storage and getting ready to plant them. So I just stored them in these 5-gallon buckets, and I drilled holes in the sides of the bucket, the bottom of the bucket. Since I was reusing buckets, I didn't have lids for all of them, so this one had hardware cloth as a lid, and then I used tie wire basically to wrap it up, keep it fastened shut. But that worked out better. Some of the buckets I had lids on, actually, the squirrels got into them. They chewed through the lid. So definitely be be cognizant of that, and maybe consider hardware cloth. And I used 1/4-inch hardware cloth. Maybe half-inch works, I don't know, but I used 1/4-inch. I'm planting into this grass here, and I figure I probably could just plant them directly into the grass, but I had a little bit of just like topsoil basically in a pile over yonder, and I don't know, I just figured I'd throw some of it down and plant on top of that. So basically I'm gonna dig them out here one by one. I gotta be careful because some of them might have sprouted. I'm getting to this later in the season than I had intended, and I was hoping to do this when it was a little colder out, so I'd be sure that hopefully none of them had sprouted, but some of them might have sprouted, so I gotta be careful digging them out by hand. And I'm just gonna place them here. Then I'll cover them with some of this compost that they were buried in. I got a bin of worm compost there. It's not quite finished. I'm in the middle of moving right now, actually, so I don't have my microscope with me down here yet, so I can't really look at it to see where we're at as far as the succession of the populations of the microbiology. But there's a lot of worms in there, so there's got to be at least something good going on, I hope. And yeah, so I'll spread some of that on top of them, and then I'll cover them with good mulch, right? And then I'll put a fence around them, probably hardware cloth fence, because that's what I have. That is like some different, I forget what that stuff's called. It's not quite hardware cloth. It's got bigger openings, but that fence is kind of, I'll be honest, I kind of half-assed that. I did it in a rush at the end of the day the other day, but I don't have, well, there are a couple walnuts in there. That's mostly like, I got other stuff, maple trees, and I think I got some locusts in there, some Osage orange, and I think I have some hickory nuts, beech nuts. I got all sorts of stuff in there. I don't know, I might redo that fence. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling. I love eating black walnuts. I love all trees, but I have like a passion for black walnuts. So I really want to keep these protected. So, and I'll film all this. I'm just kind of talking right now partly to organize my thoughts, but also tell you what I'm doing. I'm gonna probably dig a little trench around this so that the hardware cloth fence is somewhat buried in the ground, so it's harder for things to burrow underneath of my fence. I mean, ultimately, if something wants to get in, it's gonna get in, but I'm gonna do the best I can. So yeah, I'm gonna dig a few. I'm gonna stop recording. I'm gonna use both hands to carefully dig a few out, and then I'll come back to it as I'm covering them up with the compost and whatnot. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Okay, so here's a good example of one that germinated, and so this is why I'm trying to be really careful. I don't want to break that root. So when I get one like this, I'm gonna come in here, use my finger, dig a little depression, place it in there gently. Doesn't really matter what way, as long as you're not crushing that sucker. I'll grab a handful of this compost, cover them up right there. All right, now this is interesting. There's some crazy fungus growing on my some of these walnuts towards the bottom where it's wetter, and you can see. Can you see those hyphae down there? A lot of fungi down there. Anyway, this nut feels pretty hard, so I'm tempted to say that might be a beneficial fungus. I mean, this hyphae look pretty intense. I don't know. That might be a good fungi for these guys. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about it. Some people might. I am not. And I could be wrong. It could be a bad guy. Who knows? But sometimes this happens where the nut splits in two. This is what I mean by you have to be careful not to disturb them. So I'll plant them together, but I don't know. That might affect the that guy. We'll find out. Well, I probably won't remember which one that was, so we probably won't find out, but, you know, excuse me. Yeah, anyway. It's hard to get my phone out to film because I've been digging for these nuts. Maybe I shouldn't have said that way, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so now I have the nuts all laid out. I'm not going to film all this because I don't have a way to set this up on a tripod, and I got all these nuts to lay out and get covered, and I don't want them to dry out in the sun while I'm doing this, so I'm basically just showing you this to show you how far apart I have them spaced, and yeah, then I'll start covering them up and I'll start filming again, and then I'll water them. So that's where my walnuts are now buried. So I got to build a fence still, but I have a little bit of space down here, basically right here, over where I ran out of nuts, and I got a lot of other tree seeds that I might want to plant, so I got to figure out what I want to plant there. Yeah, I got to think about that, just to make the most of the fence space since I already spread down some topsoil there, so I'll be thinking about that. I can see you dug real shallow trench. I don't want to be too mean to the roots of all these trees around here and whatnot, so I'm not going too deep, but just to kind of get the fence situated a little bit below the ground level to kind of discourage burrowing. So now I gotta unravel this stuff. Note to future self, when you cut the last strap on that thing, it jumps open like you would not believe. So I did not get hurt, but I definitely could have. So maybe wear gloves when you're unwrapping this stuff. Anyway. All right, well, fence installed. A little wiggly, but that's all right. I don't know. Hopefully keep some stuff out, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm always looking for better ideas for fencing because this is kind of a pain to set up. I know I could use plastic. I just really don't like plastic. But the plastic would be probably easier to handle and set up. So that's something maybe I need to experiment with. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, planting walnuts. Thinking about fences. I didn't wind up planting anything else down in that end. I just, you know, said whatever. I couldn't figure out what would be good to go there, honestly. So nothing was calling my name. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up and do a few other things, and then I'm hungry, so I gotta get dinner. So. Later. All right, well, it's been a few weeks since I planted these walnuts, and you can see that they are sprouting, so that's really exciting. Let's see, should I give you a view of what they look like here? Little itty bitty baby walnut trees, and here they are, some kind of earlier stage of sprouting. I don't know how well you can see this on the video. They kind of blend in with the mulch with those dark anthocyanin colors in the leaves, protecting them from evaporation, harmful, you know, intense light when they're young and whatnot. Yeah, so I guess I'll take some videos when they get bigger, but I'm just really excited that they sprouted and they look to be doing good. Yeah, walnut trees. So hopefully this fills out over the next few weeks. Now it has rained a few times, but it hasn't been super heavy rain. It's been a pretty dry spring, honestly, since I planted these. So I have watered this with the hose a handful of times. I don't know if that has sped up the process or how important that's been, but I'm going to keep watering a little bit here if the weather continues to be dry. This is my first year here, so the soil is, you know, just in the condition that it has been when I arrived, which is not super great. condition, there's not a whole lot of organic matter in the soil, so there's not a whole lot of ability to retain water. So I am trying to stay on top of watering things, but I'm hoping as I build the soil up that that'll become less of a thing that I got to deal with the watering, because we'll get more organic matter, more ability to hold water in the soil. Also, you know, once these trees grow a little bit taller, and they're in a pretty shady area and they have some mulch, but once we couple that with also dense leaf cover from the walnuts themselves, I doubt I'm gonna have to water this much throughout the summer. I mean, we'll see. If they start wilting, I'll have to water them, right? But it's all an experiment. Yeah, anyway, those are just some thoughts. Another thing just to consider, if you make a hardware cloth fence, be careful, because I've cut myself on this just trying to lean in a few times. I don't even notice a lot of times that I'll put my hand on it like this, and I might move slightly. I don't feel anything, and then I get home later and I get all these cuts on my hand, real small slices. So this stuff is really sharp, so be careful. Probably the smart advice is wear gloves when you're cutting it, and don't lean on it. But yeah, I don't wear gloves as often as I should, and I'm not advising that. That just is what it is. Anyway, yeah, black walnut trees.